My name is Jim Stewart. I am a recording engineer, producer, and mixer in Cleveland. I think I tend to try to make the bands the best version of themselves as possible. So I'd rather not push my aesthetic or my agenda on a band. I'd rather have them be the best version of what they do. So if a band, always wants to perform live, I try to make that happen as much as possible by putting them in a room together and letting them play, rather than doing drums and making sure the drums are completely against the grid, tight, totally perfect, and then start putting things on top of that. I'd rather have some imperfection. If the band is more comfortable, it'll come across in the performance that way. With recording, every part matters. The whole process is important. From the pre-production with meeting with the bands and finding out where we want to go, to the initial tracking, to getting the foundation of the sounds. If your foundation is bad, anything you put on top of it's not going to work. So every part of it has to be important. So at the studio here, we have my control room that we're in, which houses all the equipment and technical side of things. And then I have an overdub room where I can put guitar amps. I have a piano. I can put vocalists for isolation. And then I have a large live room here, which I typically end up using all of them at the same time. Like I said, most of my projects I'm doing are bands playing together. So I'll have all the musicians in the live room with their amps isolated. So I'll have drums, bass, 2 guitars, maybe a vocalist out in the big room, but then the amplifiers will be in my overdub room, and they can all have headphones on and hear what they want to hear and hear each other. And the space is really isolated. We're floating floors and thick walls and everything, so any of the guitar stuff can be redone, and the drums can be redone on top of that. Having all these different kinds of musicians and musical styles and artists come in. Like, one day I'll be recording a hard rock band doing individual overdubs, and the next day I'll be doing a full jazz band where everybody's playing together, and I have saxophones and grand piano and all that kind of stuff happening. Like, being able to jump into those different situations and have techniques for recording them. And if I record something with a jazz band, and then maybe it'll work on a cool thing for a rock band when I'm doing sax for a solo or something like that. One of the most important things for me is that the bands feel comfortable when they're here. I'd hate for them to feel like we're in a studio and we got to get it done in a certain amount of time, or else we're wasting all this money and all this time. Establish beforehand the process that we're going to take, but also be flexible. If a song is not working the way we decided to do it, we'll switch and try something else. If the band wants to come in and try to get drums down and then overdub everything else and do it piecemeal, and it's not feeling right, we can switch and try to do it live as a band and get a take like that. Typically, I'm hired for the technical aspect of engineering. I'm hired to put up the microphones and dial in sounds and everything, but the production side kind of comes by default, just because a lot of times bands aren't hiring a producer or don't really have a vision for the road of how to get from where we start to where we end. So by default, I'm as little as just guiding the session along and saying, all right, we need to do this next, we got to take that again, we need to get these things done. Recording's kind of a weird thing, because really it's that performance of that song at that time. It's really cool to be able to capture that. It's like a really involved photograph, of a band, like, at that moment.